Thank you very much, Nancy. Yes, indeed, as you mentioned, quite some interesting developments since the court leader arrived back in the country 2 days ago. And tonight, we are live with him here at KTN, and we would like to pose some of the questions that many of you out there have been asking on this particular question of the national dialogue. And Mr. Odinga, welcome to our studio tonight. Very interesting developments. You came and talked about this national dialogue, and we'll talk a little bit about what that really means. But Jubilee is saying thanks, no thanks. Where do we go from here?
Well, it really is up to Jubilee. As you know, we suggested that there is need for people to dialogue, because I don't think that anyone can deny that there's a crisis in the country. And pleasantly, the following day, the president said, yes, they're ready to dialogue. Now today I see a reversal. So actually they're giving an impression of a very confused outfit. But the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing.
But isn't it also because there have been very confusing signals from your end? On that day when you were at Uhuru Park, I think the former vice president said something to the effect of being included in government. In some way says there's no way you can have 60% of the country outside government. And that was interpreted by some people to mean that you're looking for what has been called by some people nusum kate in this government.
Not at all. What the VP actually meant was it talked about an all-inclusive government. It's actually referring to politics of exclusion, where people are being appointed on the basis of where they come from, and that a very large percentage of the population of this country is being left out, particularly in public appointments, whereas the government is collecting taxes from all those people, all those communities. But when it comes to appointments, those people are being excluded. That is all that the VP had in mind. At no point, both in word and in print, did we ever imply that we would like to have any part in this government.
But isn't it Jubilee's turn to run government? Why don't you just let them do it?
Precisely, that's what we're saying. Let them run the government. That's why they are there. But we're saying that there are certain issues over which you cannot just say, we wait until after the elections. For example, when it comes to issues of security, this actually involves our people, our supporters. We cannot say, let's wait until 5 years, how people can just be killed because it is Jubilee, let them do it the way they want. When it comes to the issues of corruption, when public funds are being used to pay non-existent debts, that money is coming from the coffers of our people. And we have a responsibility to protect it. But when it comes to the issue of devolution, for example, you know that more than 50% of the county governments are under COD management. And we want to see that the devolution is running perfectly. But
there have been some pretty scary terminologies used at these rallies. There's one called revolution. The former VP also said that if Jubilee does not come for this dialogue on Saba Saba, waende nyumbani. Those are pretty scary things for people who are in government. You can't blame them if they say we are not interested.
Joe, those are political statements, and even the people in Jubilee quite understand the implications. All that we are saying is that there's a crisis, and actually when there's a crisis, that is when you actually see the quality of leadership. Because those who care for the society will come out and dialogue in this kind of situation.
So
we get that other day.
So we
resisted the temptation. Like the people were putting a lot of pressure on me. Let's say today ABCD. But I said no. We need to dialogue. You see, we reach a stage where Bonanchi can just get out of control. And that's what you really don't want.
So you get to Saba Saba, and then there is no dialogue. They haven't formed a team as you have asked for. What next?
Well, we're saying that they have an obligation. That's why they've been given up to Saba Saba. to have some structured dialogue going on. If they don't, then of course you meet at Sabasaba. You'll ask wananchi what they want. Well, before we reach Sabasaba, by the way, you'll say that we are going to do consultations. So like on the 15th of this month, we are going to go to Mombasa, to Nanoka. Now we have changed the format of these meetings. So there are going to be less talking by politicians. We are going to be listening to wananchi. And what are the problems and what do they propose as solutions?
Best case scenario, Jubilee says, fine, let's talk. What do you see as the outcome of all of these things?
The outcome, of course, is to come up with a structured, systematic approach to those issues. Like when you talk about security, insecurity is not just Al-Shabaab. It's much more widespread. There are several causes to it. So let us discuss the issue of national security comprehensively, and then come out with a way forward. This is how this issue should be tackled. We have a role as a people, and they have a role. You saw, for example, in the Westgate crisis, we came out and said over this issue, there's no opposition, there's no government. We're all Kenyans. Okay? And we could even give some advice, like in our view, we thought that it was unwise to get the military involved in an operation which was purely civilian. That operation was bungled, and that probably lives could have been saved if we did not have that conflict and confusion that existed on that day.
But now
the other one is the issue of corruption. Because they are saying that, look, if you don't pay these debts, our assets are going to be attached by these creditors, or we cannot be able to float
yes, I mean, Anglo leasing, we will discuss that in a moment because I think it is an important thing. But concluding on this national dialogue, there are people who have accused your party of creating unnecessary tension in the country by having all these political rallies and having big meetings, almost putting the country on election mode.
Joe, you cannot really try to blame me. While I was in the US, I got a very lengthy letter written by Kenyans telling me that, Baba, while you were away, ABCD happened, X, Y, Z, and so on. It was a lengthy letter.
How did that make you feel?
It actually went viral.
How did that make you feel? Being called Baba while you're away, come help us.
Some of it were, of course, sarcastic, but some of them were very serious issues over which you cannot gloss over. So I felt that there was need to address these issues. But that is the reason why I proposed a dialogue.
Are you not concerned that it looks to me that the country is quite polarized, that even if you look at the comments on social media and other platforms, that actually this could be making things worse?
It does you do not solve a problem by running away from it. You solve a problem by confronting it. This problem is not going to go away. You cannot wish it away. You have to address it. Otherwise, it will be here, it will be there again tomorrow. It will magnify. And that's the reason why we're saying that let us sit down and confront this problem. See? And we will give you our views gratis, pro bono. Pro bono advice to the Jubilee government. Because the people over whom they are ruling are also our supporters. If more than 50% of the population of this country are supporters of CORD.
Let's talk a little bit about corruption, and you talked about Anglo leasing in particular. And a few weeks ago, while you were in the US, you were quoted as having said that some of those contracts were actually not fraudulent. Some of them were delivered on. And here you are now saying in that press conference that we watched a few minutes ago that the government should actually have that money refunded. While by many accounts there was quite some significant amount of money that was paid to some companies in these types of contracts, even during the Grand Coalition.
Yes, you know, Joe, I mentioned that, you see, you needed to do some due diligence. And in fact, we took the media and explained to them some of those contracts, like the Navy ship, which was built in Spain. That Navy ship was inspected by the parliamentary committee. And the parliamentary committee, the one that made a recommendation that it should be paid. And it was delivered. But then we said do due diligence and pay what is actually payable. Because some of those contracts were overinflated. So you were paying what was actually not even due and payable. But quite a number of them are actually air. My friend John Gidongo, who was our PS in charge of anti-corruption, did quite a lot of investigations. And he knows that as we are talking, Joe, there's over $200 million, which part of those contracts or those payments which are made, which have been frozen and lying in Swiss bank accounts. And that is the money which can actually be refunded back to the Kenyan taxpayer.
But the government have been making an argument here that, look, we lost the cases. There's a whole argument about how that happened. But it's saying we lost the cases. There was a judgment out there that Kenya's standing out there as a good member of the international community insofar as credit rating and other things are concerned is at stake, that we have to pay this to open doors for other things. What's wrong with that argument?
Joe, the thing is that they are giving just one side of the picture. There's another picture. They may say that they went to court and lost cases, one case or two cases. But there's also other areas where we won the cases. Where, for example, someone who was involved in giving or inflating the prices was arrested and prosecuted in Britain. That guy spent more than 2 years in prison in Britain. When he came out, he had a mental breakdown. But then the British government, together with the Swiss government, followed some of this money. It was then frozen. It is lying in the bank account in Switzerland, $200 million, which is over 16 billion shillings by the current rate of exchange. So you can actually use that money to pay what you're paying again from
but
the
listening to Professor Githu Muigai the other day, he was saying that he was basically a mortician, as he put it, that this patient called Anglo Leasing, the cases in particular with regard to First Mercantile and Universal Sat Space, that these cases were already lost at a time when the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya was Amos Wako, who right now is a senator in your party.
Joe, Githu is being very economical with the facts, and he knows it. He knows exactly what actually transpired. Because if you go and read the correspondence, you'll find that Amos Wako was himself actually running uphill against a heavy current, because there were forces then in government who are actually resisting what the Attorney General was trying to do at that time. But be it as it may, Githu himself is now the Attorney General. There's no need to pass the buck to the other Attorney General. These things are now being paid under his charge. But he needs to take time to look at the Anglo Leasing file, to know that in fact there's money lying in Swiss bank accounts between 200 to 300 million US dollars. Much more. That is over 16 billion shillings. More than the money which is being paid. Why is the Kenyan taxpayer being made to pay twice?
So assuming today Raila Odinga were president of this country, how would you have resolved this Anglo Leasing problem? Because we have lost the case. These people are demanding money. The other day they were asking for more. What would you have done?
Joe, this is the reason why we are actually calling for this dialogue. Because when we sit down, we have more information which we will be able to bring to the table to show these people that, look, Kenya does not owe anybody money. If anything, Kenya is owed money. So we should be receiving rather than paying out money.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to that. Let's move a little bit further to this whole question of ODM, because before you left for the US, there was an election, there was almost one, but then the men in black, as they came to be called, did what they did, and there was a task force set up and a caretaker committee, and nothing much has been heard of that. Where do we stand with regard to ODM as a party insofar as elections are concerned?
Joe, forget about men in black, because as we are sitting now, you are now the man in black.
At least I wasn't at Kasarani.
You is black and you are tied black. Black is just a dress. But what happened was I set up a caretaker committee. I also set up a task force to carry out investigations into events leading up to the disruption of the elections. Now, that task force has completed its work. The chairman called me, and within the next 3 days, I'm going to be receiving the report of the task force.
So are we likely to see elections coming up soon? Because that's not a very popular thing in parties in this country.
I'm just saying that I will see what is the recommendations they are going to make in that report. Secondly, we're going to have a retreat with the caretaker team that I put in place to discuss what has transpired during this period while I was away. Because what is important right now is to do a healing of the factions within the party before any kind of elections can actually be held. You see, a party, is a club, is a members club, and it's always important that the party remains united before an election. And sitting there in Boston, I have had the opportunity to learn a lot about other political parties in other countries, in the US, in Britain, even here in Africa. So what I want is let us as ODM handle our own internal affairs as ODM. Non-ODM members have no business telling us what we should be doing.
Did they have a hand in some of what happened? Is that what you suspect?
They have their own problems, and we are also not interfering in their internal affairs. So this is an ODM internal affairs, and we will discuss it.
That
ODM.
Seems to suggest that you believe there may have been some hand from outside the party in this chaos.
No, I will see the report and its recommendations. So I don't want to speculate at the moment.
Let's talk a little bit about two people here. The first one is the mayor of Nairobi, Evans Kidero. He wasn't allowed to speak at Uhuru Park, and he is a member of CORD. He is the governor of the county of Nairobi, the heartbeat, as it were, of the country. What is the standing of this governor within the coalition? Because it's quite strange that a governor of Nairobi, would be heckled, shouted down to the point that he couldn't speak to those many supporters that came to Uhuru Park.
Well, Joe, this is politics, and in politics you have your friends and your adversaries, and the times of people who don't like you because of what you are doing may organize to heckle you or shout at you at a rally. This is very unfortunate what happened to the governor on that particular day. But Evans Kidero is a governor of Nairobi, elected on an ODM ticket, and as a leader of the party, I support him. He may be having some problem because of expectations, being in that kind of position. People expect him to do a million things. But he has got some limitations as a governor.
There's been quite some suspicion about him within the party from what we hear from members of parliament, his forays into Nyanza, in Harambes and all sorts of things. He's not quite liked, some people like to say, within ODM ranks.
That I'm not aware of. I know that probably he was doing Harambes in Nyanza, But so long as he does not step in other people's toes, I don't think that he will be having
what does that mean?
A problem. But politics, I'm saying, is a game where you make some enemies with what you do. You may be very well-intentioned. I did actually inform him and inform all our governors that they are leaders of the counties where they were elected, not just leaders of ODM or CORD, that they must be inclusive in their approach to their work and work together with even the supporters of our adversaries or our opponents. And also, because they are the government, the Constitution provides for two levels of government, national and county, and that therefore they represent the national government at the counties, and therefore they must also work with the national government. So if the president goes into an area where a governor is ODM or CORD, they have been under instructions to cooperate with the president and to give him all the support and respect that he deserves.
But they've been complaining lately about the seeming elevation of the county commissioners to these lofty positions of doing just about everything in the counties with regard to functions that they say are given to the national governments, but the governors are quite worried about that.
Yeah, that is one of the issues that we want to discuss in this dialogue, because the Constitution is very clear that you've got two levels of government, the national and the county, and that those two governments are distinct and must cooperate with each other. So there are functions which have been devolved and others which have not been devolved. In my view, the major functions which are not devolved are security and education, only those. The rest are devolved functions. So when the president says that he's handing over more powers, you ask yourself, which other powers does he have down there? Those are pretended powers which do not exist in the Constitution.
Okay, we do hope that you can take that up if and when this dialogue happens. But let me finish with Maina Njenga. You visited him yesterday, and a lot of people think that because he doesn't have a very good reputation, that he has been associated with a grouping that was linked to many dastardly things in Kenya, killings and all of that, that it leaves a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of people when you are seen with him and saying things to the effect that the government should protect him and that sort of thing. What is that really about?
Well, Joe, we have a new constitution, which has been hailed as one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. And this constitution is actually admired particularly because of the human rights provisions. And if you go to the human rights provision, it's one of the most fundamental rights is right to life. That every Kenyan has a right to life. And the government has got a responsibility to protect the life of all Kenyans. Maina Njenga is a Kenyan. I don't know that he ceased to be a Kenyan. So he may have been a member of Mungiki some other time. And he says that he left Mungiki. And one of the reasons why he's being sought for is that he had no right to resign. That the oath says that you are a member for life. This is what I saw you are one of your affiliated papers writing in the Nairobian. Now, I saw that, there was an attempt on Maina Njenga's life, during which over 6 people were killed, including his late wife, the one he married after the first one had been killed. This young wife has a 1.5-year-old child, and she was also pregnant. And she was shot and killed, so the body is lying there. So, and then the minister goes on record saying that this was an internal strife within the gang, intra-gang fight, full stop. I'm saying, in which country do we live? What happened to our constitution? The government has the responsibility to protect the life of everybody. You cannot say that I disagree with my wife, and therefore if I have killed her, it was a domestic dispute within the family, and therefore that's it. The government has got the right to protect Maina's life. So if there's somebody who was fighting Maina, even if he's a member of Mungiki, that fellow should go to court and then accuse Maina and let the courts decide. But the government cannot allow those people to go and shoot and kill Maina or his other people and say that was a gang fight. The government is therefore legitimizing the violation of the constitution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Odinga. We have to bring this to a close. We have been speaking here to Court Leader Raila Odinga, who just arrived back a few days ago from the United States, where he had been from mid-March, and he's been talking about very many issues ranging from this discord about the national dialogue that they have proposed all the way to ODM and a host of other issues. Do keep your feedback coming. You know, our hashtag is already on your screen. It is Dialogue Discord. You know what to do with that. It's on Twitter. You can also give us your feedback through the other traditional methods that we use on your screen, the numbers as well. I just